What's up guys, it's Trevor with Ember's Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Today we're going to show you how to build your own bump out or your own enclosure for an electric fireplace. That way you can have an electric fireplace built into the room. This is the wall we're going to do it on. Let's get going. Okay, so if you're like most customers that like electric fireplaces, you really want to do a nice, deep, built-in fireplace. The problem is it does require some construction because they're usually at least 12 inches deep. And so what used to be really popular was these wall-hanging units, and they are great if you're in a rental or an apartment or something temporary where you can sort of just hang them on a wall like a television. But they simply just don't look as good as our built-ins. I mean, if you look at these two and compare them to, well, I'll just show you. We just put these in here. We don't have them painted yet. But like, look at these four built-in. These are four built-in-the-wall units. Definitely much more attractive than the wall-hanging units. So we're gonna take these off the wall, come back over here. And today we're gonna teach you or how you would go about building out a space into the room to make room for a nice, clean, built-in fireplace. Now today we're using the Amante Extra Tall TrueView series. Two reasons we're using this. One, it has a really nice tall window, and I think it's gonna look really, really attractive as the focal point of the room because it's gonna be such a statement piece because it's so big. The other reason is we're building out into the room. So in your house, you're probably like this space, you only have 2x4 walls right here, so you can't fit a 12-inch deep fireplace into this wall. So what does that mean? That means we have to frame out or build out into the room. And so when we do that, we're gonna have returns on the left and right-hand side. So what's really cool about the TrueView is the sides are open. Now the reason I like the open sides is it gives it a nice polished finish. So when this is bumped out into the space, it's gonna look like it was designed that way. It's not gonna look like an afterthought, like someone just built out a space after the fact. It's gonna look like it's incorporated into the room. So let's get these off the wall, let's start building. Okay, so this is our fireplace here. I wasn't joking, it's very big. So it's nice and tall, but you can see we're gonna have a window. Our window's gonna finish right at 60 inches. So we're gonna have 60-inch viewing area. So see what I'm talking about? This is a big, deep fireplace. This is not something that you're capable of just hanging on the wall. So what we have to do is build a frame around it. Now, of course, we don't want this aesthetically. We don't want this right on the floor. So we're gonna build up a platform for this to sit on. Now, if you're doing this at home, this is gonna vary based on what you want aesthetically and what you're trying to achieve, and then also how tall your ceilings are. Our ceiling height in here, if you shoot up Elijah a little bit, we only have 8-foot ceilings. So that's gonna limit us a little bit with how tall we can have this fireplace go because it's already a tall fireplace. And then if you're like most consumers, we're gonna do this with a television, a TV above it. So to make room for the TV and the fireplace, and probably a sound bar, we don't want everything to feel squished. So we're gonna build a platform for this. We're gonna go ahead and decide right now how tall we want this sitting up. That way we have room for our TV above. So let's start by building the platform. Okay, so we have our platform built. So essentially what we're gonna do is we would have this we're gonna have our window 16 inches off the floor. Now a couple things, you can see we had to take our rubber base off. This is a showroom, so there's gonna be a couple things different in your house. So if this was in your house, you would have to cut your flooring if you have carpet or tile, let's say. You'd have to cut that out and then set this platform in there, especially with carpet. You may be able to do it over tile, but especially carpet, you want to cut that carpet out. The other thing is you can see we have some outlets here. We have full access in behind this wall. So this would be normally when you're hooking up this fireplace, you would want it to be hardwired because you'd never want to bury an outlet. But because we can walk in behind these walls, we have plugs on the back side of this wall, so we're just going to be plugging it in. That's probably not going to be the case in your home. That's when you're going to want to get an electrician to hardwire it right to the fireplace. Also, you see we're using metal studs. That's also different. In a commercial space like this, we have to frame with metal studs. In your house, you probably would frame with wooden studs. But it's nice and shallow. We're only 16 inches here and then 16 inches here. So that's what's nice, is it's not gonna take a ton of space into the room. So let's go ahead and throw this up here. So here it is on the platform. You can see it's gonna look good. I'm excited. So now that we have this set, we'll go ahead and plug it in behind here. Again, this would be the point where you wanna get this professionally hardwired by an electrician in your own home. And then it does have little nailing flanges or finishing tabs that your 2x4s can go tight to. That way your finishing material could go right over the top of this if you want, or you can flip these around or just not use them at all. So now let's get the rest of it framed out. Okay, so we have our top piece built. Now it's built very sturdy. You can see we put a couple pieces of plywood in here. Now the reason we did this is just so we can perfectly center our TV. It's not a bad idea if you're doing that at home too, because even if you're using wood studs and that TV mount can go right into the wood, we want this TV perfectly centered. So we want to be able to mount our bracket wherever we want. So this is going to give us the most amount of flexibility with that. So that's why we have these here. Also, you notice we have an outlet here. If you happen to be putting it where an outlet is, remember you cannot keep that outlet there. So that would need to be capped off. We can't use that outlet and bury a plug in a wall. That's not the code. So you want to make sure you get with your electrician and cap that off, and then make sure you hardwire right to the fireplace. And so yeah, now let's get the fireplace set in here. Now it's important, obviously we got to get the fireplace set for our drywall, but we're also going to get it plugged in and test fire it, because this is an important step. You wouldn't believe how many times customers call me and this thing will be 100% stoned in or rocked in, and then their fireplace won't fire. And it's like, we never turned it on to test it when we have it open up. So this is a great time, a little helpful tip, to test fire it. Again, we're not setting up the media, we're not making it look pretty, but we want to test fire it just to make sure it's operating before we start enclosing this. So let's do that now. Okay, so we put it in the wall. I just ran it to an outlet real quick just to test fire it. And of course, this is not how the final install is going to go with our cord. But again, this is an important step just to make sure everything's functioning right. This thing's going to look pretty awesome. What do you think, Elijah? Oh man, I'm excited. All right, so let's get this set. We'll get it, again, this is the important part when you want your electrician to hardwire this, but we'll get it set and get it ready for drywall. Next step. So as a side note, you can see, why don't you come over here and check the edges. So again, with our open edges, it's gonna be open on all three sides. So this is gonna look like it was purposely designed for all three sides showing. And so what I think is it's just gonna make this bump out feel like it's part of the original design process with those ends open. That's just me. You can do it flat front if you don't like the open ends, but this is the concept here. So I'm excited, let's get it going. All right, so we'll get the time lapse going for you as we finish up the drywall, but you can see we drywalled our pedestal on the bottom, and we put some corner bead on here so we can finish our drywall. And then we put corner bead right up against the fireplace. That way we have a nice clean finish on the side walls of our fireplace. So, like I said, in a regular circumstance, you probably would wire in your electrical box right here for your television. But being that this is in our showroom, we're of course just running our cords because it's all open ceilings and we have access back there. But in a regular home setting, this would be where you want to wire for any sound bars or for televisions. Probably put some outlets right here as well, and your electrician can do that at the same time as he wires the fireplace. So let's get the time lapse going. Okay, so you can see it's really starting to take shape and come along here. So what we did is we did the drywall finishing, and then this has been primed, which you saw in the time lapse. Now, in your home setting, you could skip that finish part. If you were doing like a tile or a stonework, you're obviously not going to need to sand and finish the finish. But you can just do, put your board up and then do your tile work. So if you're doing tile or stone, you would skip this step. The reason we don't in here is we change out products so often that we'd be just constantly tearing out stone. So we're just doing a nice smooth finish here that we're gonna paint. This is also really handy if you do a nice smooth finish like this. Like if you wanted to do like a cool funky wallpaper or a cool design concept, wallpaper goes really well with this, which is kind of fun sometimes, which I think looks pretty good. So now our next step is going to be paint. So we're pretty much ready for paint. So you can see with the electric fireplace how much easier it installs than if you were to do this with a gas fireplace. Because when we start hooking up our electronics, our TV, our sound bar, things like that, with the electric, we don't have to worry about any piping. We don't have to worry about any heat issues. So that's what's really nice with the electric. Drywall straight to the opening. We have no really heat clearances or heat issues to worry about in any way. I'm gonna paint this a dark color. Now, when we're doing paint, I like dark colors and really light colors. And the reason is really light colors like this, it can just help you really focus on the fireplace. And then we're doing a dark color because we have a black sound bar. I sort of want that sound bar to disappear, and I want the really cool TV, Samsung frame TV that we're putting up, I want that to pop. I want that to pop and the fireplace to pop, because those are going to be our focal points of our wall design here. And so I think a really dark, we're going to do like a dark charcoal color. I think that's going to help us accomplish our goals. And then also, last thing with the design concept is you can see our open corners. You're starting to see, it feels like, hopefully you can kind of see what I was talking about earlier. It's starting to feel like it's part of the design. Like this wall was intentionally designed this way because of the open corners. It doesn't look like we decided after the fact to slap this wall up, which is what we did, but you can't tell that. I don't know, what do you think, Elijah? You think you like the open corners?
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks better than I thought. It makes it look really polished and finished. But again, if you're not a fan of that, you can just do it single-sided too, no problem. All right, I think that's it for this step. So we're gonna time lapse it, show you our paint. After our paint, we're gonna set up our fireplace, get our nice fit and finish on the fireplace, and then we're gonna hook up our sound bar and TV. We'll walk you through some of those steps too. And then I'm really excited. We're gonna have a complete wall, and it's really simple and straightforward, and it's gonna look awesome. Also, if you want the same, how to do the same concept in gas, we're gonna be doing the same video with a gas fireplace, which of course is more involved, but we're gonna show you that anyway. So if you're interested in a gas fireplace, we'll include those links down below. Let's move on to paint. Okay guys, so you can tell that we got it painted, obviously, duh. This is the dark charcoal color. Now we'll get into this a little later when we turn the fireplace on, because we got our media set up. We showed you that in the time lapse. But again, I like the dark color because it sort of makes the black trim on the fireplace just sort of go away. So it's just almost like just window, like frameless, which it is frameless, but you don't see any trim at all. Again, I like dark or light colors. Now, I'm not an interior designer. That's just me. Over the decades of, or decade, not decades, I'm exaggerating, the decade of installing these, that's kind of what I like personally. That's just my personal preference. Love to hear your feedback in the comment section. All right, now let's get our base up. Now, again, what's unique to us is we're in a commercial location. So we're just gonna be using rubber base. In your situation, let's say you're doing stone or tile, there's a good chance that that stone or tile could go all the way to the floor. If you're doing paint or wallpaper, you're probably using like a wood base, probably need to match your existing baseboard, something like that. But for the showroom's sake, we're gonna use a standard black cove base. So what a lot of people don't realize about me, while we're doing this, I'll just give you a little background on me. Everyone calls me the fireplace expert because I am. No, just kidding. I just happen to deal with a lot of fireplaces and make a lot of videos. But before I got into fireplaces, my dad had a flooring company and I worked for him for years doing commercial flooring. And as the boss's son, my job always was to hang the rubber base. That's the fun job I got. So one time we did an office that had, or a commercial space that had 76 offices. So I rubber based 76 offices. That's rubber based for days. So we're just gonna score it like this. And what that is gonna do is, when we put our glue on it, it's gonna give us a nice clean edge here. Okay, so we got our TV. Now, like I mentioned, this is my favorite fireplace, or we got fireplace on the brain. This is my favorite TV of choice, and you'll see why once we hang it up. So let's figure out how to get this guy mounted. So we got our legs. If we're setting it on a media console, obviously don't need that. So let's set these aside. Now this is cool. This is called Samsung's One Connect. And let me show you this. So a lot of people they don't want wire showing. And then this TV sits so tight against the wall that you have nowhere to plug in like your HDMIs or anything back in behind the TV. So what they do is this is actually a separate box that we'll have to run and put somewhere more inconspicuous. And then all of your hookups are gonna hook into this guy. So super cool. So again, we'll set this aside for now. But again, you see all of our connections are gonna go into this. And then we'll essentially have one really skinny cable that goes from the TV into this. So that way there's nothing on the wall or in the way of the TV. User manual, and go ahead and throw that away. Just kidding. Gonna need that. All right. What I'm looking for, what I'm worried about is our wall mount kit. That's what we want to focus on right now. Here we go. This is what I'm after. Okay, so this is pretty cool. This is actually gonna be pretty helpful. So this looks like a template. We'll read the instructions on exactly how to do this, but let's set this aside because we'll definitely need this. Sometimes it's crazy to me, the same with fireplaces, is how much wrapping there is. How much cardboard and wrapping goes to waste. I mean, this seems excessive. All right, I'm pretty sure with this guy, the way it's gonna work is this is actually gonna mount on the wall. And then this goes on the TV, and then you just drop it on there like that. So let's figure out where we want to put this. Okay, so we laid our TV down, finally read through the instructions. The first thing we got to do is put on our wall mount. So I guess we'll just double this video as how to install a Samsung TV, right? 2 for 1. 2 for 1 in the video department today. Not bad, not bad. I like to use, another little tip, I don't like to use a screw gun on the back of a TV. Should be for obvious reasons. I don't like to over tighten a screw into the LCD panel. Don't do that. So, just a screwdriver does the trick. Okay, so it says to get the back of the TV ready. We also got to get our cable ready. So here's that piece I was talking about. It's really cool. So when we go to hang this, we're obviously going to want to be ready. You don't want to get stuck. Okay. So we're going to feed this. So see what I mean? This is going to allow for a fully flush install. And then we'll feed this through the wall. All right, so the back side is about ready. We're ready to hang it. So let me measure the TV, because now we have to decide how high we want to mount this. So it's 32 and 3/4. 32 and 3/4. Okay, so the TV was 32 and a half. Here we're at 59. So that's going to give us about 26 inches divided by 2, about 13 inches on top and bottom. So 13 here, this would be the top of the TV. 13 here would be 43. This would be the bottom of the TV. So that would be if we centered it on the wall. Now we have some things to think about. Centered on the walls right here. We have to mount our Sonos soundbar. So the soundbar I think has to mount 5 or 6 inches below the TV, plus another 3 inches. So our soundbar would be sitting pretty low. So our soundbar is going to be sitting about right here. What do you think, Elijah?
I'd say raise it up a little bit.
Raise it up? That soundbar is going to look too weird sitting here, you think?
I think so. I think it looks
Yeah, I think so. I think ideally we'd want the soundbar, the bottom of the soundbar, sitting at a foot, probably, right? So if we did a foot and then added another, so the 20 inches would be at the bottom of our TV. 32 is going to be, so that'd be right here. So the top of the TV would be near there, and the bottom would be 33. What do you think, Elijah?
I think that'll look good.
That'll look good? So I think we're going to mount it right here, and it's a little high, but keep in mind this is a showroom, so we want it up a little bit higher so you can kind of see in the store. In your house, if you don't want the TV up that high, you can definitely do it lower. We're just going to have a pretty large sound bar, and I want the sound bar below. Another option you could do, like in a house, what maybe look better is to actually get the TV lower and then do the sound bar up above the TV. That's just one idea. So I think we decided 20 inches is going to be where the bottom of the TV starts, right? So this is where we decided we want the top of the TV. Now before you go and just full blast on the comment section like some of you guys do, I understand the TV's a little high. This is a showroom. You can definitely put it lower in your house, but we got to mount it for what's going to make sense in our store here. So we want it at 5 3/4. Now what's cool is in our template, it's going to tell us how far down our top screws need to be. So on the 65 inch, measurement A is going to sit 12 inches below where we want the top of the TV. So I'm going to take the 5 3/4, add 12, 17 3/4. Am I wrong? Would I be wrong in saying that, Elijah, or would I be right? 17 3/4. How good's my math?
It sounds great to me.
You gonna hold me accountable today?
I hope so.
All right. Little side note, little tip here. See this? Bring it in. Black walls and Sharpies. Bad idea. But I don't know what else to use, so I'm just gonna do that. I can kind of see it with the light. So 17 3/4. So that's where our wall mount needs to go, okay? Right? All right, now that's our top point. Now we need to figure out our center point. So let's do that. Measurement C is gonna be 28.7. All right, let's do this. First, we need to find our center point on the wall because we want this TV dead center. So our total wall length, 64.5. So we're gonna want 32.25 as our center point, right? All right, come on closer. I improvised, I made an audible judgment call here. So I just took my blade and poked a little hole. So that's the center point of our wall mount. So now let's find it. Here it is. Let's figure out which way it goes, which I believe is this way. This is where we're gonna want it centered, right there. So let's get our first screw in here. We're gonna get our first screw, and then we'll level it off and put the rest in. All right. Here it goes. These guys, they're in here playing basketball. One, they should be working. Two, I'm shooting a video. They should show a little more respect. I mean, what kind of boss lets their staff play basketball inside the showroom while I'm over here wall mounting a TV bracket? Okay, so we don't want to go crazy tight. Now the reason I didn't go super tight is we gotta get this centered and then level it off. So you can see I'm not centered. Gotta go a little looser. All right, we're nice and level. Gun me. All right, we got it in there pretty snug. Now remember, because I'm such a forward thinker, we screwed in plywood behind here. So I don't have to worry about hitting studs or anything. I just know I'm gonna go right into the actual plywood, so I don't have to worry about this being unsturdy. Let's go ahead and screw the rest in. Oh, I promise you that's not going anywhere. Let's double check. Now that it's in. Ah, it's crooked. Just kidding. What's weird though is this thing is crooked. Ah. So we're gonna want this piece level too. It's on its own screws. Okay, now the fun part. So, remember, we want to hide our cables. So what I need to do is put a hole that would be in behind the TV, somewhere where I can fish the wire, that one wire back here. The mistake I made is this is all plywood back here. So I'm gonna have to cut through wood, or hopefully find a spot that doesn't have any wood on it. So let's see here. So obviously I want to make this hole where the TV is going to cover the hole. So I'm just going to try right here at 15 inches. Let's try it right here. Now I could get out my Sawzall, but I don't want to make a huge mess. So first of all, let's see how big the end of this cord is. So it needs to be big enough for this to fit through. Now, there's definitely more professional ways to do this. One thing could be to put in a junction box that you could feed wires through. It's probably the smartest thing, but I kind of forgot about this part, so we're improvising a little bit. We're in business, baby. I missed the wood, and we should fit through there. So we remember though, we have a little bit of an advantage. We're kind of cheating a little bit because we have the top open. So we can just go underneath, pull that cable out and put that box where we want. You're obviously not gonna have that luxury at home. So what I would recommend doing, because remember, you're gonna need a place to put this and your outlets. So my recommendation is we're just gonna set it up on the ceiling here. But what I would do, if you wanted this out of the way, maybe, see here on the side, come over here on the side, Elijah, is you can build a little niche on the side for all of your boxes. Like if you have an Xbox or cable box, this thing, you can build it and just inconspicuously hide it with like a drawer or something here or another place. But then what you have to do is basically snake the wires to that spot. So you'd have to get a snake and feed it through, which is a little more advanced. Well, I think we're about ready to hang this TV, aren't we? So this is the bottom here. Let's go this way. Brian, you want to help with that cord? Might take all three of us. So you have to fish that cord through that really good socket I made. All right, so got the TV mounted. You can see this thing is slick. This is what I'm talking about. When I turn it on, you'll see it's almost like a piece of artwork. It's nice and flush. I got to pull the slack out of this cable a little bit, but you can see why I like this TV is it's almost 100% flush with the wall, which I like because then you don't have to mess with the TV niche and all that. Now here's what else is really cool about electric fireplaces. Let me push it in a little more here. This is what's so cool about electrics is you don't have to worry about where any of the cables are or anything because you're not dealing with any heat or clearance issues at all. So you don't have to fuss with all that. So it's really simple and easy. All right, let's get this TV plugged in. Okay, so this is our Sonos wall mount for our soundbar. So come in here, let me show you this. This is kind of slick. It tells you there's this little piece here, and they want you to set it right here over the Sonos emblem, and that tells you what the optimal distance is away from the TV. Okay? So, right there. So what I'm going to do is just mark that distance on a couple spots and then mark where the ends go. I still got to double check if I'm centered, but it gives me a good starting point. All right, so I got our big level. So now that I know our line right there, all right, I found a pencil, as you can see, which shows up a lot better. So I think I had the center point right, which should be 32 1/4. Yeah, so here's our center. Here's our center point. Now, unfortunately, our plywood doesn't go across here. So I don't know, we might have to use our drywall anchors. See, I need my I forgot to wear my carpenter pants today. Whoops. Then I have my hammer loop, just regular old jeans. Now, the other thing is it takes a trained eye to make sure all your screw holes are nice and level. How are we doing level-wise? Because this would be our time to make sure. All right, our mount is up. Now, here's the other trick that we got to worry about. So we have the same issue with our cords before. We have that same issue with the Sonos. So we really got to cut a hole, but the Sonos, we don't have nearly as much room for error as our TV. So let's see what happens. I blew it. Giant mess. I gotta blow my nose. Okay, let's see how we did. Let's feed our cords through, one at a time. Just both of them. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, something I'm annoyed with. Come here. Bring the camera in here. I don't like this design. Here's our sync button. So we almost gotta sync it before we mount it because it's gonna hide it in here. But I wanna just slide it in just to see if my fat fingers can't, but you might be able to use your fingers to get back there. If you're standing right on top of this, you can see our wires. Obviously you can see that hole. So we can touch that up with paint a little bit. And what is nice is I can reach that connect button. But from back here, beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. All right, let's get this cleaned up and let's get everything plugged in. All right, you can hear we got the sound bar turned on. We got that figured out. Oh yeah, sounds good. What's nice is you can control everything right here. You have Siri or Alexa right here. Looks nice and clean. All right, let's turn the lights off and fire up everything. You guys excited? I'm excited. Lights, Tate.
Got it, boss.
Give me lights. Lights off, I mean. Nope, off. Give me, off. I said off.
Sorry, boss.
All right. All right, there we go. Little technical difficulties there. So far a little anticlimactic, but long time coming. I think the wait's gonna be worth it. Okay, so we got the TV set up. Now I'm gonna show you guys what I was talking about with some of their artwork here. So let's find the artwork we want. Okay, so we got the artwork set up. This is just one example, but you can see it. What do you think, Tate? It looks like a piece of art?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think so. And you see what I was talking about earlier with the darker paint? Sort of makes the soundbar go away, especially in the darker lighting. All right, now it's time for the grand finale. This is what it's all about, is the actual fireplace. So without further ado, Michael Scott style. That's all I got for drum roll. All right, got my remote. So you can see we got it all set up. I don't like the blue in this though, so we'll do a separate review on this fireplace altogether. Let's get just our lighting on the way we want it. Let's turn our mood lighting on. I want to try to make this look as realistic as possible. There we go. What do you think of that combo? Okay, so I think as a whole, like the wall as a whole, it looks absolutely fantastic, especially from what we started with before. We just had a blank slate. So hopefully you can see at home, it's really not that intimidating. Putting in a fireplace like this can seem really intimidating, but you can see there's actually not that much to it, especially when it comes to electric fireplaces. So you can see this would have been a much harder install with a gas fireplace, running venting, gas line. You have to worry about heat restrictions. We're still gonna do a video. It's still not as intimidating as you would think with a gas fireplace, but with electric, it's much, much easier. So we obviously were able to cut some corners. We can't, we ran our cables through our hollow walls because we can walk in behind here. Probably not gonna be able to do that at home. But pretty much you just need to hire an electrician, framer, and a drywall finisher or stone guy if you're doing stone instead of drywall like we did here. I'm gonna shut this off because I'm gonna give us a minute to just focus on the fireplace so you can kind of see what it looks like off as well. So let's shut this off. So I wanna be able to focus on the fireplace for a little bit. Again, we didn't focus too much on the fireplace outside of having nice tall glass. What else am I missing, Tate? Is that it? Again, we wanted to just give you a look at the end product. The main idea is so many customers put this project on hold, or they don't put in a fireplace at all because it just seems so overwhelming. Hopefully this gives you an idea of the steps involved. Don't forget, if you're in the Denver metro area, come down to our showroom today, see these products in person for yourself. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Stay tuned for more.